All right, it is Monday. It's the start of a new week, and there is a lot to talk about with Bitcoin here, so I'll get right to it. Firstly, I want to point out that we have indeed confirmed a green dot on this weekly time frame. We see that since the new week printed, momentum has moved to the upside a bit. Money flow is still kind of staying flat, but we have confirmed this green dot that stayed there and was there when the weekly candle closed, and we are now seeing weekly momentum move to the upside. I think that is a good sign for my overall bias at the moment, which still remains bullish. I think since we have the weekly green dot, since we reclaimed the value area low of this sideways range that we've been trading in since all-time high, that opens the door to a rotation to some of the more significant areas above us, like the point of control. If we can get above that, maybe then the value area high. But I'm also aware that we are running into some resistance at the moment. I know that this is the golden pocket from all-time high down to that low. I know that this is also a pretty significant support resistance area. We've held support on it right here, resistance, a bit of resistance here with those wicks. Even resistance back here before we started trading in this range, it was resistance on the way up. So, this 63,500 area is pretty significant. I do believe it is also a pretty high volume area. If you pull up a fixed range, there's a high volume node coming in right at the low end of that golden pocket, and seemingly on the daily we've only wicked up above that area. So yeah, we are running into resistance at the moment, and there are some local bearish signs that at the moment are making me think that we may see some retracements. I don't think just because there's some bullishness on the higher time frames that it has to go straight up. There can be turbulence, there can be retracements, and it is starting to seem like that is likely with the daily time frame seemingly attempting to top out with this momentum wave. The VWAP is coming very close to the zero line. Money flow still looks good on the daily time frame. It's still moving to the upside. It is maybe flattening out a little bit. The upwards movement is slowing down a little bit. It's starting to curl over, but the fact that this momentum wave is looking like it's getting close to topping out, along with some of the midterm time frames showing some bearish signs, like the 4-hour momentum has got a serious move to the downside. It is right now crossing below the zero line, and this technically is not a divergence, at least on Bybit, because we did not take out the high here, so that is not a div from there to there. But I do know that we did take out that high on other exchanges. So on Binance, that is technically a divergence. At least with momentum on the 4-hour, the money flow is continuing to grow. It even put in a higher high at that point. But if you go down to the 3-hour, now it is a bearish div with momentum and money flow, at least on Binance, which is one of the more significant exchanges. Typically I'm only looking at Bybit and Binance, and I think things are better when they are the same on both exchanges, but in this case, I have to acknowledge that there is bearish divs on Binance, and going down, it is the same on the 2-hour, divergence with momentum and money flow. Same on the 1-hour, and here the money flow is actually crossing into the red. So yeah, we are definitely seeing some bearish signs as we're running into resistance here. So at the moment, my view of this is, this is reason to expect a retracement. I don't think it's necessarily reason to expect a full-on reversal, but that can change. As I said, my bias is based off of the fact that we are right now above the value area low with some bullish signs on the weekly. And even though we're seeing some bearish signs locally as we got to move up here, I think money flow on these higher time frames still ultimately looks strong. I think things can rebound, and this is looking like a pretty good setup for some kind of a continuation play. If momentum comes down, cools off, maybe money flow gets a little move to the downside. Given how strong it still looks, and given the daily money flow and the weekly momentum, I am more so leaning towards a retracement right now rather than a reversal. But every confirmation does have an invalidation, and I think an invalidation for that idea would be significantly losing the value area low and closing high time frame candles below it. I would probably say at least a daily candle, and not just barely closing below it and then reclaiming it immediately. I really want to see it lost. If that happens, if we get a massive close down below this value area low and things are continuing to show bearish signs, then that may make me think that we could come back down towards this low, or at the very least maybe continue ranging in this area where we ranged before until we're able to reclaim the value area low again. So with that being said, I think this value area low is a very important area to watch. I think backtesting it for support and holding it would be a very strong sign of bullishness. and just verifying that it is still in the same spot. It is approximately. I can move it up slightly. Seems to have changed a little bit. But yeah, I think that 61,300 area is going to be very important. There's also some confluence in that area. So we have, a support resistance flip potentially in the making here with significant resistance in this range, possibly now being flipped into support along with the value area low. And depending on the time frame you're looking at it, we also have a little box of confluence with the value area high and the point of control of this previous range. If you go down to the 1 hour, the point of control does change. It moves all the way down to here. The value area low is still up in that area, though. That changed as well, but that just took the place of the point of control. So I think this box right around that area, and I may even want to bring it up to the top of these wicks for a potential resistance to support flip, is really going to be my make or break support area. And, sure, we could move down below this box, maybe bounce off that point of control, still reclaim the value area low. Maybe it's just a wick on the daily time frame. But I think it would look a lot better if we found support in this zone right here. And it could even just tap off of this wick over here, just flip this resistance into support. But I do think the better zone of confluence is coming in inside of this box, which also has an anchored VWAP creeping up into it from the low of that range. So yeah, lots of confluence coming in that zone. And based off of the midterm timeframes now, I think it's pretty likely that we continue moving our way down towards that area. And, maybe bullish confirmations happen prior to hitting that zone. But, yeah, like I said, this is really where I have my eyes on right now. But I don't usually like just planning out one idea, so let's check for some other confluence. And, there's a golden pocket around that 1 hour point of control. Maybe you want to put a box around that area as well. Maybe if support box 1 doesn't work, we still have the opportunity to, wick into this area on a higher time frame. Hopefully there's some lower time frame confirmations in there. And personally, I think if I do take a trade from this area, if there are lower time frame confirmations, I would look for a trade targeting a backtest of this area. And if we're able to reclaim it, I'll look at that as a bonus. If not, then this is going to be a major target for me because we could just retest that for resistance before going lower. And I may even want to drag this down towards that value area low, just make it a larger box, because when you switch around the time frames, the fixed range pull changes. So I'll include a larger box here. This one also has an anchored VWAP approaching it. This is from this significant wick low down here. And, really what I would want to see in this area, I think, would be a combination of, some 30-minute to 1 hour, maybe even 2 hour divergences to go along with a 4 hour trigger wave printing, which, technically we really wouldn't want it to go lower than this wave right here to continue that direction of higher lows. Now this technically was a lower low right here, but since we continued up afterwards, you can kind of ignore this wave. So it would be good to see another higher low be put in, and ideally there are some lower time frame divergences like 1 hour divs as we get to move into that area that can kind of confirm that 4 hour trigger wave for us. And I would say that specific setup would probably only happen in this upper box. I think if we're going to get a move all the way down here, there's a good chance that that 4 hour starts putting in lower lows with momentum, which may be a little sketchier, but, it still could turn around. We don't necessarily have to see the direction continue perfectly. Like I said, we put in a lower low right here, but then continued up afterwards. The same thing could happen again. Maybe we take out this low, but then momentum just kind of continues with the upwards direction. So, it's tough to say. Just kind of thinking of ways that this could develop. But, right now I think there is still definitely potential for this direction to continue on the 4 hour. And if the 4 hour starts looking a bit more bearish, like if we start putting in lower lows, maybe I will consider that in my ideas. Maybe, I will look at the lower time frame confirmations with a bit more skepticism, and maybe I will take less risk on my trades if it looks like the higher time frames are not exactly agreeing or playing out as perfectly as I would like them. And I may also look for more local targets. If that's the case, I'd look to prioritize de-risking and locking in profits off of the trades rather than just trying to get the best entry, because there's no guarantee that if we get bullish signs here that it will bring us to any of these higher targets. But there is definitely a pretty decent chance of it, I think. Alright, well, I think that is it for this video. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Until things develop more, this is pretty much my plan. I think, I'm being bullish as long as I can be, but, if we start, significantly losing this value area low and we spend a lot of time down here, enough to close a daily candle, then, my opinion may start to change a bit. But, yeah, for right now, these are my plans. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. All that helps to support the channel, and I appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next video.